All right, class, let us be introduced to Western religion. So thus far in this course, we have been studying Eastern or Asian religious traditions. That is, we began in South Asia, as is seen on the map, with our study of Hinduism, Jainism, and Buddhism. And then we continued eastward into China, Korea, and Japan, where we encountered Taoism, Confucianism, and Shinto. So now that we have concluded the East Asian unit, we swing westward to analyze religious traditions originating or developing in the geographic regions west of South Asia, such as the Middle East, Africa, Europe, and the Americas. Now, as with our Eastern traditions, Western religions are diverse, complicated, and numerous. So for the purpose of this course, which is an introductory religious studies course, we will focus upon 4 existing religious traditions that have greatly impacted Western beliefs and culture: Zoroastrianism, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Now, in approaching our Western religions, it is useful for us to see how these traditions from the West generally compare with those of the East. That is, this is a world religions course, and therefore we are taking part in comparative religion, where we're kind of curious in, comparing and contrasting our various traditions that we study. So to help us with this, let us take a look at the following chart. So this chart basically lists some of the major motifs that scholars believe kind of delineate Eastern traditions from Western traditions. So let's begin. So for example, scholars tend to point out that our Eastern religious traditions tend to view time as cyclical, kind of as we've seen in Hinduism and Buddhism, with their emphasis upon the wheel of reincarnation. Whereas in Western religions, there is a tendency to believe that time is linear, that it has a beginning and that it is going forward into the future. Scholars also point out that Eastern traditions tend to emphasize meditation as some kind of like a primary practice for salvation, whereas Western traditions tend to be religions of ethics that emphasize that it is morality or living a moral life that somehow results in salvation. Our Eastern traditions tend to believe in kind of like a spiritual dualism, where there is a soul or mind and a body, and that the soul or mind is immortal, whereas the body is mortal. Whereas our Western traditions tend to emphasize the resurrection of the body, that is, in the afterlife, the body and the spirit kind of share in immortality. And whereas Eastern traditions tend to be more polytheistic in their theology, Western traditions tend to be more monotheistic. Now, here's a critical question that I wish to pose to you all as we engage in our study of Western religions. Are these characterizations of Eastern and Western religions accurate? So, for example, are Western religions the only traditions that emphasize ethics, or did we encounter ethical teachings in our Eastern traditions? And is it true that Eastern religious traditions are polytheistic while Western religions are monotheistic? So put simply, as we approach our analysis of Western religions, I invite you all to evaluate these claims critically as we kind of compare our Western and Eastern traditions. And again, as we are studying our Western traditions, let's be mindful of the teachings of our Eastern religions as we approach those of the West, just to kind of give us some perspective, in terms of the similarities and differences between the religious traditions of these 2 major geographic regions.